The neutral rate would be a mythical interest rate in which the interest rate that the Fed chooses is not stimulative to economic growth and it is not restrictive to economic growth. In other words, they imagine there's some Goldilocks zone at which they can hold the federal funds rate that will not influence the economy either way for growth or for pulling back on prices. This is different than what I've talked about many times on this channel, which is the natural rate. The natural rate is what would interest rates be if there were no force being exerted artificially on the market. The natural rate is what the interest rate would be if it were not being manipulated artificially or set artificially by an external force that has a monopoly on setting interest rates. In a hypothetical example of a free market economy, if I have a bunch of cash in a savings account, you have a bunch of cash in a savings account, and everybody does, well, the savings pool then is very large, which means everybody who has money already saved is going to be competing for the few people who are borrowers. That means interest rates are going to be competitively driven down from all of the savers. We're going to say, hey, I want to lend you money at 3%, or I want to lend you money at 2% because we want that business. So when the savings pool is large, interest rates will naturally go down, and that will incentivize spending and borrowing. That will create some growth. But once the pendulum swings too far the other way and everybody has spent and everybody has borrowed, the savings pool has been drained, which means now the borrowers are competing for the few savers to lend to them. All the borrowers are saying, I'll borrow at 8%, I'll borrow at 9%, I'll borrow at 10%. And the few people who still have savings get to take advantage of that. This natural pendulum swing will now start incentivizing people to save so that they can take advantage of the higher rates instead of paying them. So it will rebuild the savings pool. So in a completely free market, the natural rate is always changing and it is always influencing behavior, whether that is to save or spend, and it's always measured against all the other possibilities somebody could do with their money. Anytime you have a third party, another entity come in and through force say, I declare this is what the interest rate will be, by definition, it will be wrong. It will be something other than the natural interest rate. Therefore, whatever interest rate the Federal Reserve sets, it will always be either artificially stimulating more growth than there should be, in other words, causing more spending than there should be, or it will be artificially suppressing that growth. Whether interest rates are at the Fed's mythical neutral rate or not, it will always cause malinvestment. It will always cause a misallocation of resources, and it will always cause either too little growth or too much.